Tonight, GFG Alliance to invest $1 billion in renewable energy projects to power the Whyalla Steelworks. And a huge convoy of trucks full of hay from WA stop off in Port Augusta en route to drought-stricken farmers.
This is Southern Cross News with Abby Donaldson.
Good evening. GFG Alliance will invest $1 billion in renewable energy projects to power the Whyalla Steelworks. The plans were unveiled this morning with up to 350 local jobs set to be created.
Nearly a year on since purchasing the Whyalla Steelworks, Sanjeev Gupta's plans are starting to take shape. He joined a cast of thousands today to give the city a peek at what the steelworks will be powered by tomorrow. Worth $1 billion, Mr. Gupta says his investment in renewables is what's best for the business.
Because it's the cheapest. So that's a simple answer. A businessman looks at all options and looks at the most economically viable one, and we've obviously put our money where our mouth is.
The first stage of investment is a Kultana solar plant, which begins next year. With a capacity of 280 megawatts, nearly 800,000 solar panels will be built over an area the size of 550 Adelaide ovals. 350 jobs will be created during construction, and once built, it could power over 96,000 homes.
Our requirements are a cornerstone in that project, but we are counting very much on requirements of various customers.
Premier Stephen Marshall has welcomed the investment as good news for all South Australians.
A big project in renewable energy. We always want to see new generation capacity coming to South Australia.
While millions has been spent internally at the steelworks, today was the first public demonstration of future investment. And Mr. Gupta says this is just a beginning.
Today is a launch of that. The big steel projects will be launched soon as well. So the mega projects will be launched soon, and they're starting finally to do those.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
A huge convoy of trucks full of hay from Western Australia have stopped off in Port Augusta en route to drought-stricken farmers in New South Wales. The massive cross-country operation has been completely funded by the generosity of the public.
A row of trucks taking a break from one of their most important journeys in recent times. This precious cargo of hay is bound for the farmers doing it tough in central New South Wales.
This trip's obviously a large fundraiser, a large support for the farmers. You can see we've got a lot of hay out there on the trucks.
The fleet of 23 road trains began their journey from Western Australia on Monday, carrying approximately 1,200 tonnes of hay, enough to feed 20,000 sheep for 6 months. Rapid Relief Team has helped raise over $2 million. The venture is funded entirely through donations.
It's incredible just to see how people can rally in a time of need, isn't it?
The trucks docked in Port Augusta this afternoon, giving truckies a chance to have a break before the next big drive. A large majority of the drivers in this trip are doing it for free.
It's something I've never done before, and it's to help out with all the drought relief over in New South Wales and trying to help the farmers out.
Had a good response from a lot of people, all the people on the sides of the road and everywhere actually.
The convoy will pull into the rural town of Condobolin on Friday, providing feed relief to over 200 farmers in the wider area.
It's obviously going to be a pretty emotional moment when trucks all pull in.
The lengthy trip coincides with special changes to New South Wales freight guidelines coming into effect today, which will allow heavy vehicles to carry more hay for drought-stricken farmers. Garth Burley, Southern Cross News.
Whyalla will be getting a new Year 7 to 12 public high school in 2022. The state Liberal government will honour the $100 million pledge made by the previous government, saying the city's kids deserve the best.
Launched last October when Labor was in power, the $100 million high school was a big-ticket item. It would replace 3 current sites, bringing Year 7 to 12 under one home behind the local TAFE and uni campuses. It's officially going ahead, with the Liberals today committing to pushing forward with the new site.
The community's been calling for new infrastructure, educational infrastructure for a long period of time. The new government has made this a priority.
The change of government in March had thrown the plans into doubt. There had also been some opposition to the project from locals concerned about bullying. Mr Marshall says while they did look at alternative plans, the new build was considered the best option.
Whyalla deserves the very best educational institution for its students, and that's what we've decided to do.
Local Labor MP Eddie Hughes says he's pleased the commitment will be honoured.
Contracts weren't signed off on, the builders aren't there, so they could have backed out of it and they didn't, so I go, yeah, good on them for doing that.
Whyalla's mayor says the state-of-the-art design will give local students the best opportunities possible. She says it'll help develop the skills needed, which will feed into GFG's plans to revitalise Whyalla.
That's what our kids deserve, and it will give them the best opportunity to get those educational qualifications they need for work in the future.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
And to cap off a big day in Whyalla, the plans for the new jetty were officially unveiled. The Premier, Mayor and Sanjeev Gupta pulled the curtain back on the plans. It'll feature a T-junction and a circular structure in the middle. GFG Alliance will donate the steel needed for the pylons that will support the structure. Mayor Brewer says it'll be a community-led project.
When this jetty's built, everyone in Whyalla is going to be able to come down here and say, we did this.
Sanjeev Gupta has backed the ambitious design.
What we need to show the world is that Whyalla is not just a sleepy red industrial town. It's a place which is beautiful.
The multi-million-dollar project is backed by a $1 million contribution from the state government. The massive task of recycling and transporting salvaged steel from Port Pirie to overseas is nearly complete. One of the last ships is currently being loaded with steel and will set sail by the weekend.
Standing metres high on Port Pirie's wharf lies 10,000 tonnes of scrap metal, which has made the 17-day trek by truck from Port Augusta.
So it's all come out of the Port Augusta power station, and it's as a result of the demolition.
Australia doesn't have the capacity to recycle and melt the 50,000 tonne of steel from the Port Augusta power station. The salvaged steel will now be sent overseas to be melted, recycled and used for construction purposes.
It's all going to Southeast Asia to be recycled in electric arc furnace.
Workers began loading the ship with tonnes of salvaged steel earlier this morning. The boat is expected to set sail for Southeast Asia late Friday afternoon.
It'll take us about 70 hours to load, and it's about 10-12 days sail.
The massive task of transporting 50,000 tonnes of salvaged steel overseas has taken nearly a year to complete, with one more shipment scheduled for later this year.
At the moment this will be our 5th, and we've got probably one more.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Still to come tonight, a major milestone for the Spencer Gulf with the first uni hub in the state officially launched. And one of the biggest rural events on the EP calendar gets underway. A world-first program of its kind has been developed to help manage the state's agricultural biosecurity. It's a one-stop shop to help livestock farmers when it comes to buying and selling sheep and cattle.
It's a $5.5 billion industry, and South Australia is continuing to prove it's a leader in protecting livestock biosecurity.
This is a world first here in South Australia today, and I'm very, very proud to be a part of it.
In a fitting location, the program called One Biosecurity was launched at the Eyre Peninsula Field Days, where farmers and industry representatives discovered how it works.
Farmers can put in their own information, and there are people through FIRSA that can assist in doing that. But it's about putting in your own information and then getting a rating on how well you're managing different diseases.
The program will give each farmer a rating to assess and improve farming practices.
I wouldn't get disappointed if you don't get top ranking first up, but it's well worth a try. And I think as people get used to it, they'll get better and better at practices on the farm.
But the main feature of the program is to add marketing credibility to livestock.
It also assures our international markets that we are doing everything possible to assure them that they're getting an A-grade product, world's best.
And farmers say the new system will make buying and selling a lot simpler.
It's brought together 4 or 5 different paperwork trails that we have at the moment, so it'll simplify things.
Casey Treloar, Southern Cross News.
As Broken Hill prepares to hold a number of big events, police will be clamping down on unruly locals around the city. The warning comes after a man was fined over $2,000 for offensive behaviour.
Have a fun time, but also a responsible time. With the Silver City Cup, Broken Hill Festival and Silver City Show approaching, police will be keeping an eye out for any antisocial behaviour. This also involves licensed venues like pubs and clubs.
We're not trying to be the fun police, we're not trying to stop people from going out there and enjoying themselves, but we certainly want to make sure that they're behaving themselves and doing the right thing.
Officers had to remove a man from a licensed premises on Sunday night after he refused to leave. Later that night, after he was taken home, the 21-year-old entered the local station and abused police.
Gave us a few choice words on why he was kicked out and what he thought of us. He then left, came back about 20 minutes later, again gave us a bit of a mouthful of abuse.
The man left again and tried to break one of the station's rose bushes, but it reportedly flung back and hit him in the face. He was later found sitting near the police station and refused to leave once again when he was arrested and detained for the night. He racked up a number of fines totalling $2,100. Inspector Smith says that is an extreme case.
We will make sure people, like I said, have their fun, but also, make sure that they're not ruining it for everybody else.
Patrick Ryanke, Southern Cross News.
Around 100 people gathered to celebrate a major milestone in the Spencer Gulf last night. The first uni hub in the state was officially launched and is set to open its doors to regional students in 2019.
It's 4 years in the making, but it's finally here. Residents of the Upper Spencer Gulf will have a new style of learning available to them as of next year.
We can deliver the appropriate educational skills and training requirements right here in our own backyard.
The Uni Hub will focus on online learning with tutor support based in the Old Port Pirie Library.
Be able to increase that completion rate to 80% and sometimes more.
Wider range of courses that they can choose from through online options.
Courses that enable people to study and work. We also have programs that are designed for Year 11 and 12 students.
Nearly 100 people turned out last night for the official launch.
Gone out for expressions of interest on a number of courses to start in 2019. So far we've received, I think, the best part of 100 registrations of interest.
The Uni Hub will provide students with a higher education qualification without having to travel to Adelaide to study.
Keeps our young people in our regions to help us actually grow and be sustainable.
The doors to the Port Pirie Hub are set to open next year. It's hoped a hub will open in Port Augusta in 2020 and in Whyalla by 2021. Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
It's the rural event that the Agricultural District looks forward to every 2 years. The Eyre Peninsula Fields Days are well underway, and despite drier times in the region, visitors and exhibitors are remaining positive.
The 3-day event, which attracts up to 20,000 visitors, is off to a flying start. There was plenty of shiny new toys on display, which even the next generation enjoyed giving a test drive.
Provide an opportunity to go out, see some mates, catch up with all the latest technology, and they may learn something that, could make or save them thousands.
And while much of the surrounding region is suffering an extremely dry season, spirits were up among farmers and exhibitors supporting each other.
We're very fortunate to have had some rain in the last week, but yeah, it needs to keep raining.
At the end of the day, the great thing is that we can all get together, whether we're farmers, whether we're machinery dealers, agronomists, and we can actually just share each other's company.
The Field Days is also a chance for the exhibitors to show off all the exciting new technologies, just like this Morris Precision Air Seeder.
An opportunity to talk to our long-term customers, also gives us an opportunity to show some of our later products that have been released over the last couple of years.
And don't stress if you haven't been able to get to the Field Days yet, because there's plenty more action on tomorrow with all the entertainment, including the iconic horticulture parades. Casey Trelaw, Southern Cross News.
Stay with us after the break. Springtime netball kicks off in Broken Hill, and we'll also have the region's fuel prices.
And showers and cloudy skies did return to some of the region today. I'll have all the details soon.
Netball is back in Broken Hill with teams taking to the courts for their spring season. Nearly 40 sides have been registered across all grades. The association presidents say plenty of junior girls are taking up the sport, and it's a great way to keep fit and healthy.
We've still got multiple teams that have
nearly 8 to 10 players on each team. A lot of new teams who have joined as well in our senior comps, which is really good.
The season will run for 13 weeks. And time now for Fuel Watch. Here's Pat.
It's been very quiet at the Bowser this week. Majority of the prices are holding steady, while a few start to go back up. Starting with unleaded, and Port Lincoln is one of the rare ones to see red. Their price is up by almost a cent and now sits on $1.45. Whyalla remains the most expensive in the Spencer Gulf at $1.47, but that's still 6 cents cheaper than here in Broken Hill. Port Augusta is up by about 2 cents and now joins Port Pirie on $1.43. Kadina is 2 cents dearer. As I said, Broken Hill remains very pricey despite seeing green, while Adelaide has barely seen any movement to stay on $1.33. To diesel now, and it's basically even Steven everywhere you look. It's all quiet on the Spencer Gulf front. Port Augusta is on $1.52, Port Lincoln is 1 cent cheaper, Whyalla is 3 cents higher. Port Pirie is on $1.48, Kadina on $1.47. Broken Hill has seen a little touch of green, but it's not much. The same can be said for Adelaide, which has dropped by half a cent to round out the board on an even $1.40. Now remember, these prices are the regional averages, and they do not reflect any one particular outlet. If you happen to find a spot that does sell unleaded or diesel for cheaper, let us know on our Facebook page.
And time now for the weather with Amy.
Thanks, Abby. Well, while temperatures did remain quite high, cloud developed across Port Augusta, 20 at the top there today. Whyalla reached a high of 19, while Port Lincoln saw 16 and some showers. On the satellite, and a high pressure system and dry air mass is keeping skies clear. However, cloud will approach the southeast as a cold front nears. If you're out on the waters tomorrow, westerly winds will shift southwesterly up to 20 knots, with seas reaching up to 2 metres. Sunrise is at 6:59, while it will set at 5:49. Showers settling in across the region tomorrow, Port Pirie and Woodna reaching 16 degrees. A mostly sunny day in Whyalla with a top of 17. Despite some wet and windy weather in Port Lincoln, conditions should fine up by Sunday, heading for a top of 15. Similar conditions predicted in Cleve and Woodna, as temperatures sit in the mid to high teens. Mostly fine days coming up in Whyalla, although there is the chance of some showers come Saturday. Port Augusta will also be mostly sunny as the weekend gets underway, 17 on Sunday. Showers clearing in Kadina by the end of the weekend, as maximums sit at 15 degrees. The chance of showers in the next couple of days in Port Pirie, however, a fine 16 expected for Sunday. Clare will fine up by the end of the weekend with a top of 12. And in Broken Hill, maximums will drop slightly. However, the mostly fine conditions will continue. So Abby, we are getting closer to the weekend, and we should hopefully see a little more sunshine.
Thanks, Amy, and that's the local news from the team this Wednesday. Thanks for your company. Enjoy your evening. Good night.